Welcome, everybody, to episode 50 of Unhacked. Guys, the team is back together. OG style. Just the three of us. I love it. No guest today. We actually had one. She no-showed. Fuck.
Dang
it. We're scrambling, but honestly, I think sometimes we do better when it's just the three of us. So we're going to test that theory today. Here's the truth. Most, if not all, breaches could have been prevented, right? And we are here to coach, to educate, to train business owners on how to prevent. Because, guys, once you get hit, you can't get unhacked. All right? I named the whole thing after it because it's all bullshit. You can't do it. You can't get unhacked once you get hit. So let's do a couple intros. Bryan, it's been a hot minute since you've been with us. So absolutely thrilled to have you back. Tell everybody who you are, what you do, and who you do it for, because we've all forgotten.
Yeah, I think I've even forgotten myself. Okay, my name is Bryan Lachapelle with B4 Networks, based out of beautiful Niagara Region, Ontario, Canada, and we support other businesses in their journey on cybersecurity as well as technology. And just the way I like to say it is, I make the headaches go away when it comes to dealing with technology.
Perfect. Mario, same question.
Yep. Mario Zaki, CEO of Mastech IT, located in New Jersey, right outside of Manhattan. Been in business for 20 years and helping, small to medium-sized businesses stay protected on the web and specializing in having CEOs sleep better at night.
All right.
Ooh, I like that.
I am Justin Shelley, CEO of Phoenix IT Advisors, and today I am wearing the shirt that I wear in all my profile pictures across all social media. Random fun fact, if you look me up on LinkedIn, Facebook, anywhere, this is the shirt I'm wearing, and this shirt mostly sits in the closet because I'm self-conscious about it. And for that reason, I call it out and put a spotlight on it. Guys, I work with businesses in Texas, Nevada, and Utah, and what I do is I keep you protected, safe from the Russian hackers. Yes, Mario, they're mostly in Russia. From the government, because they're going to come and sue you if the Russian hackers don't get you. And then finally, to clean up anything that's left, we've got the attorneys that are going to come in and file these class action lawsuits. So that is my specialty. That is what I eat, breathe, and sleep. And that is the shit that keeps me up at night, is making sure that none of that happens to my clients. Guys,
Justin, it seems like this episode 50, is somewhat of a little jinx. This is, every time we try to record episode 50, there's an issue.
I know. Why don't you tell us more about that, Mario? Let's talk about, we just, our no-show, I guess we'll call that failure number 2. What was failure number 1?
Failure number 1 is, somebody that we got on here, we started recording and going through everything. And about 45 seconds into it, during intros, we're like, whoa, what the hell did we sign up for? This guy is just like a lunatic. He started screaming and getting in the middle of in the face of the camera. And then,
no.
We're all on this platform, but me and Justin, technically, we looked at each other. We're like, what the fuck did you just put us into?
I'm glad I wasn't there for that.
We're chatting behind the scenes.
Afterwards, camera goes out. We're like, all right, we stop recording. And he's like, listen, let me sell you my service. And we're like, okay. Yeah. I don't think so.
He had no interest in the podcast. He was just there to talk about himself, to sell his stuff to us, not even to our audience. It was crazy.
And the whole thing, Justin booked them because, this person was supposed to be in charge of IT for large companies. And Justin asked him a simple question like, "Do you see this when you're trying to work?" He's like, honestly, no, I don't really see it too often. And that's it. The conversation ended there. Like, all right, where are we supposed to take it from here?
Yeah, it was crazy. So it's recorded. It's in the archives, and I'm going to pull clips out from time to time, but never will I publish that as an actual episode. We're just going to use it to say, here's what not to do.
It's the Shadow 50.
Yes, B-side or whatever. Yeah. So today is the real episode 50. And I love that it's the three of us back together again. Sans guests, sans problems that they bring, and just breaking down the real, the raw, the dirty of cybersecurity. And guys, I have long, for quite a while, I've talked about the human element of cybersecurity. I did a whole we did about a year where every single month we held a seminar in the Dallas area talking about this it was even titled that, the human element of cybersecurity. And I always say 97% of breaches could have been prevented. You can almost use, I think, 95. So very close to that when they talk about the percentage of breaches that are caused by us, caused by humans. It's almost all of them. In fact, I did an episode before the three of us got together. This is going way back with a former employee of mine. And I posed that question. I'm like, hey, I always say 97% of breaches. Damn it, I'm messing that up. I always say, that whatever percent is human caused. And he looked me straight in the eye. He's like, no, I don't think so. I think it's 100%. Like whatever percent we assign to it, really, we could go back and find a human screw up in that chain, in that breach somewhere every single time. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely.
I would confirm, because even if nobody screwed up, there's still a human element to it because there's a hacker at the other end. That's a human. So no matter which way you look at it, it's caused by a human.
Well, all right. That's a good point. That's a good point.
I mean, like I don't know what the exact percentage is. It's like the number one source of breaches are coming in through a phishing email. So obviously there are people there. It's a numbers game. If they send out the same email to 1,000 or 10,000 people, it's there. Even if they get one person, which to them that's a very successful number. If they get 1 out of 10,000 people to click on an email, guess what? They're going to click on something and something bad is going to happen. I mean, yesterday, I'll give you an example. And part of it is sometimes it's the curiosity to see what this really is. I know yesterday I got an email. Somebody sent me a DocuSign, and I knew it was bullshit. I knew it wasn't anything that somebody I was expecting from somebody that I knew. But part of me kind of just like, for some, I didn't click it, by the way, just, I didn't click it. But part of me is like, I want to see what these guys are doing. Like, what are they trying to get me to do?
Yeah.
I know it's bullshit, but it's the curiosity in me that wants to click on it.
Yeah.
But, we'll never know.
I did a webinar or seminar actually live in person for the construction association in my area, and my theme of the entire night or the day, the session was who is responsible for cybersecurity at your organization. And so I challenge all our listeners to ask themselves that question right now before we get started in the subject for today. Who is responsible for cybersecurity at your organization? Who ultimately bears that responsibility, and just leave it at that. Think of that question, and then we'll dive into the rest of the topic that we have today. And then at the end, I'll come back and ask that same question.
Oh, shit, we have a topic there. I forgot.
Yeah.
And what was the answer?
Well,
it should be everybody.
No, okay, but what was
it? Gave it up. Yeah. Oh, so when I asked the audience, they were like, "Oh, well, like this person that we is responsible for cybersecurity, or our IT company is responsible for cybersecurity," and Mario just gave it up. But ultimately, security is a team sport. It's not just an IT thing. It's not just a this person's in charge of IT for the organization. It is everybody's responsibility from the top ranks all the way down to the bottom ranks. Everybody is responsible for IT, but it starts at the top. You have to have a culture of security.
Absolutely. So then we have to get into the nitty gritty though of what we're talking about, because we've got who's responsible, or whose job is it, which I think is what you're asking, and then you've got who's accountable, or who's the throat that's going to get choked when something goes sideways. And oftentimes, I mean, that is, spoiler alert, that's the guy at the top. That's the CEO, the guy, the gal, the whatever. And oftentimes they're the ones that we have the hardest time getting to adopt the training and to work with culture, which is kind of what we're going to talk about today. Going back a little bit to the, just the fact that the problem is humans. When I was doing, so you asked that question to your audience, Brian, when I did my tour on the human element, my introductory question was, what is the number one problem in cybersecurity? Where is the, what's the biggest threat?
Right.
the biggest weakness, however you want to frame that. And almost nobody would get the answer, which is us. We are the problem, right?
Right. Inaction is the problem. Not thinking it's a problem is a problem. Believing
Correct.
that we're too small, so it doesn't apply to us. Nobody would want my information anyway. Those are all
Oh
part of
God,
the
that's
problem.
the best one. Always the
Yeah.
best one. Have either of you guys read Mark Goodman's book, Future
Yes.
Crimes?
Oh, I love it. That was a good book.
Okay, so I have a stack of those books with the page folded down and highlighted. And the quote that I always read from that is, if you think technology can solve your security problems, then you don't understand the problems and you don't understand the technology. It is not a technology problem.
It's not.
And honestly, is hard. We can make it really hard to hack technology. We can harden firewalls, servers, endpoints. We can set up seams and like all this stuff we can do to protect the technology. But that human brain, oh my God, is that easy to hack? All you've got to do is just pique the right emotion and you can get anything you want.
Yep. I always like to use the analogy that I can have a building and I can secure that building with a guard at the front. I could put bars all over the windows. I could put locks on every single door. But if you've got that numpty who goes and puts a brick in the back door and props it open because he wants to carry some big box outside and he doesn't want to have to, use a key to get back in, that criminal is just going to sneak right on in there and there's nothing anybody can do about it. Right?
Yeah.
All those security protections are gone because of one person who circumvented it all by giving up information and or access without realizing what they were doing.
And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I'll get, a call like right on my cell phone, from another business owner, a customer, and they don't want to go through the proper channels. They don't want to go through like the technicians or the opening up a ticket. They're like, Mario, I clicked on something and I don't know what this is and stuff like that. And they feel like they're, all the stuff that we go through and training and stuff like that does not apply to them. And it's just an example that they don't even want to go through the proper channels to get it resolved, so it just shows that like some of these people feel like it does not apply to them. And those are a lot of times, the cause, like, and we talked about it in a previous episode a long time ago, where before we started doing the whole managed services, when I was just a one-man shop break fix, I did have one breach, and it was like when first ransomware was first starting, and it started on the owner's computer. Like he was the one that clicked on something because he just felt like he should click on it, and the whole network came down because of them.
Yeah. It's crazy stuff. I'm debating whether I should tell a similar story. We might get bogged down in stories, but you know what? Stories are fun, so let's do it.
Fuck it.
Yeah, fuck it. I had a client, and the guy was just an unpleasant human. And he had my cell phone, and he wanted to be able to get support, like basically 24/7. He called me up. I think it was 9, maybe 10 o'clock at night, just screaming at me. He's like, I pay you to protect my computer. Now I've got a virus. And, this was back in the days of viruses, what are we talking, 10, 15 years ago? Because it's not really the way we at least talk about it anymore. Anyways, he had gotten himself a virus. And I'm like, all right, Bob, let's take a look. I'm going to remote into your computer while he's screaming at me. And on his screen, it's just like tabs and tabs of porn.
I thought that's where it was going.
Gay porn, no less. Whatever. No judgment there. No judgment. I'm just saying. And do you guys remember back in the days of dialers?
Mm-hmm.
So what they would do is you'd look at something and they're like, hey, click here for the next, better stuff. And it would disconnect your modem and dial a new one that was like a 900 number. Did you guys ever have to deal with that?
I saw it one time, yeah.
Phone bills get, hundreds, thousands of dollars, just nuts. And that's what this guy had going on. I'm like, Bob, listen, I don't care what you do, but just understand that it only takes one click and it undoes everything that we're working on. It's like perfect illustration of what we're talking about right now. If you want to do that, fine. Go get a computer that just for that stuff, that doesn't have your bank account information on it, for fuck's sake, right? That doesn't have all your company's IP, that doesn't have QuickBooks on it. Everything in his business was on this computer that he was just blasting out there to the whole world. Anyways, so if you think technology is a problem, you don't understand the problem. Or if you think technology can solve your problems, we really have to dive into this human element of cybersecurity. And I talk about culture. We can label this however we want. But let's get into that. Why is it that, one of the phrases that got kicked around while we're planning this is that people actually are more important than firewalls, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guys, give me some thoughts on that one.
I can dive in here. From my understanding, and statistics, about 89.2% of all statistics are made up on the spot,
including this one.
Yeah. According to the statistics I've read, about 95% of breaches involve human error, and we talked a little bit about that, from clicking bad links and reusing passwords. And again, people are the ones that are opening up the doors to the cyber criminals. If you purposely download something into your computer thinking it's a really cool game that you really wanted to play but you didn't want to pay for, you've just downloaded a virus. Anything that you put on your computer that you don't pay for, you are the product, you and your computer. And so the human element is where a lot of these breaches happen, and they're using social engineering to trick people into doing things they're not supposed to or shouldn't. So I will let me floor to Mario.
Go ahead, Mario. Then I want to deep dive on the social engineering part for a second. Go ahead, Mario.
Yeah, so most firewalls, when we configure them, we're configuring them so the bad guys can't come in, right. But going from inside out is much easier, and we have now content filtering and all this stuff to because people just click on shit they shouldn't be clicking, so and it's not going to be 100% because it still has to go and analyze the site or analyze, has to have been previously reported and stuff like that. But it's still, it's no matter what it is in protection, like Bryan said earlier, your house, your building, your car, obviously if you're on the inside, you should be able to get out, and going out, is you have to be directed into a safe area, but because the world in general, there's a lot of unsafe things out there. So if you're leaving the inside of your protection and going out, that's where the vulnerability is going to come in.
Yeah. I've actually seen situations where the individual is giving up information on purpose, i.e. uploading files or sending information, and that would be the equivalent of opening up a window and just tossing out all the jewelry outside, right? You can't protect against that. You can't put bars on the windows. You can't put security protections preventing somebody who's already in throwing good things out. So
yeah, I mean, I'm just going to keep going. You guys have already said it. I'm going to say it again a little bit, maybe in a little bit different way. You're talking about putting bars on the windows and locks on the doors, and you can put cameras in, and you can do, great big magnetic locks. You have to buzz somebody in, but breaking through that technology can become almost impossible. The problem is getting somebody inside to push that button to release the lock is super easy. Right. And by design, for safety reasons, we have to be able to get out. We can use that analogy. Here's what hackers prey on. The human brain is wired for two very specific things that get exploited. One is the desire to help. Right. I'm trying to think of a good example. I don't want to say damsel in distress because that becomes sexist and whatever. But we can't help our need to help people. Somebody on the side of the road with a broken down tire, and somebody on the side of the street with hungry kids and a sign. Like it just tweaks our brain to see somebody needing help and to choose not to provide help for them. Right. So hackers love to exploit that.
Yes, they do.
Like the Saudi prince that sends you an email and
correct. False, Mario. That's not what I'm talking about at all. So our desire to help, and then the other one is our need to avoid conflict. As humans, we are wired to avoid conflict. So you either get some version of, oh, please help me. I'm desperate. I've got to get this done right now. Or you get some version of, You will help me out right now, or I'm going to have you fired. I know your boss. I've got his cell phone number right now. I'm texting him. You better get, like that, right?
Yeah.
So some version of this is, now I don't have any firsthand information, but I keep hearing over and over, so I'm going to call it reliable. The MGM Grand breach was some version of this type of social engineering that ended up costing, I don't remember how many hundreds of millions of dollars. It's just very, very, very expensive because somebody was able to hack the human brain. So why is it the firewalls are important? However, people are more important. It's because we are so easy to hack.
Right.
We are designed to be hacked. Where firewalls are designed not to be, we are designed to be hacked.
And the part there is making sure people are trained in what to do and what not to do. The most memorable example of social engineering that I've seen is a young lady was sitting with a reporter, and they were sitting at a table together. And she said, I can get into your phone and get access to your entire contents of your account without you being involved whatsoever. And he said, there's no way. And he says, she said, all I need is to know is your phone number and who your provider is. So he gave her the phone number and who the provider was. She then hopped on a call with a customer service person at that cellular operator, and within 3 minutes had access to the entire account by pretending she was her husband or his wife, putting a baby crying in the background to simulate stress, and she was pretending she was anxious and needed help, and that her husband's going to get mad at her if she doesn't get this thing done. And before anybody knew, she was put on the account because she wasn't already on the account, had removed him from the account and had changed the password, and essentially then from there she could go anywhere and gain access to the account, because she could go in person, show her ID, get the SIM chip, put into a new phone, and basically take over the whole account if she really wanted to. And he couldn't remove her because now he was removed from the account.
Yeah.
So
it is
all that within 5 minutes.
The
It's
absolute
crazy.
Classic damsel in distress that I was trying not to talk about. But it is true. Like you almost can't protect the brain against this. It's so hard. And I love that video. I've seen that video. I used to use that in my presentation that I would do.
Yeah.
I mean, we see it all the time, like in our office. Like we'll get somebody, like a manager or somebody's like calling, and he's kind of being, a little obnoxious, and to the technicians, like, listen, like I need this today. I need what the hell's taking you guys so long? I need this today. And then, sometimes being under that kind of distress, they make mistakes, they do stuff that, if we reset a password, and we normally would reset it, and, obviously we have other steps, like we have to verify the person and all that stuff, but, we usually will reset it and set it where they have to change the password after the first login. And if they forget that, it's a problem, you could easily have somebody make a mistake when they're like that.
So with that said, what steps could we use? What do we train our people on how to prevent these type of things? What are all the different things that we could train on awareness training?
Mario, what do you think?
I would say, obviously you have to have guidelines and in procedures and stuff like that, and tell them, like, no matter what, you have to stick to the rules, stick to what we, the guidelines that we have put into place. If you're following these, you should be 97% protected, right? God damn it, Justin. Don't you know we're recording?
I told you that they pushed an update on my phone, and I cannot figure out how to mute this goddamn thing. I shit you not. I'm pissed. You keep talking. I am literally trying to figure out how to mute my phone.
You have an Android.
Yeah, I know it. Oh, there it is. I found it.
So what I would say is a couple of things. One is I would concentrate heavily on, there's the obvious things, password stuff, making sure you have good passwords, how to spot an email, things. Those are all the obvious things, the things that we've been trained on the whole time. I would say the majority of our training should be focused on how to spot social engineering and what are the red flags. Specifically, I don't know if you've ever seen physical security being breached, but if you put on a vest, you can pretty much get in anywhere.
Yes.
One of those reflective vests, those orange
and
ones.
a name tag. Just get it and a name
tag. and a name badge, and you can walk into pretty much anywhere. So just training your staff to be hyper vigilant. If they see somebody that they don't recognize, stop them, because it could potentially be somebody who's not supposed to be there, right? If somebody's calling in with, hey, I'm really stressed, I need to get this. No, I will not break our company policies. It sucks. I really hate to see you needing something, but I can't help you right now because you haven't authenticated yourself, right? So just training on those social engineering red flags and how to spot suspicious people is where I would concentrate my efforts on, and then testing them on it, right? Purposely going out of my way to try to get somebody to breach the security, and then figure out who and if anybody does fail, then do remedial training on them. So in our industry, we do phishing simulations, but we could also do physical breach simulations by having somebody walk in with a clipboard, a vest, and a name tag and see if they can get through, right?
Yeah.
I see something, say something, right?
Well, right. So reporting is another part that needs to be part of this program, is creating a system and a culture that rewards it for reporting things that you see. There is a lot of shame in the world of cybersecurity where don't ask stupid questions. There's no stupid question. Well, yeah, we say it one way and then we treat it another way. There's always shame around stupid questions that get asked, right? That has to be removed. There has to be a reward for reporting, whether it's useful or not. We've got to reward people for bringing that information, that putting a spotlight on things that they see. Because if you're just relying on your IT company, guess what, guys? We're not there when things happen. No. You've got to get your people. Everybody has to have their eyes on this stuff.
Yeah, and there's also. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say there's something to be said too about creating a environment or a culture where people feel comfortable bringing things forward. People feel comfortable saying, "Hey, I screwed up and I clicked this link," right? Now, with that said, if they're ignoring the training and they're not taking the training that's being provided, I would treat that the same way that I would treat somebody not following health and safety regulations. Because they're putting everybody in jeopardy. But if they're following all of the procedures, or they're doing all of the training and they messed up and they clicked the link they weren't supposed to, that should be a no shame, no blame type of environment, right? Don't blame them, don't shame them, don't make them feel like they did something wrong, because then they're going to hide it next time, right? A good story is, one of my kids, at one point, once upon a time, I gave him trouble for taking a sandwich when they weren't supposed to. And then one day I walked into the kitchen and my son was acting all suspicious. I was like, I wonder what's going on here. So I didn't say anything, but then he left. And, a week later, I find like a sandwich in the drawer somewhere, all like molding up because he had hit it. Like, right? That's the kind of thing. You shame them and you blame them, they're going to hide it in the future. That's human nature. And so just creating that environment of no blame is very important.
Yeah, and to add on to what both of you said, like sometimes we feel like these people are just working against us, even something as simple as like recovering a backup or trying to fix something or whatever. We're like, well, part of us wants to say, well, what the hell did you do? But we have to ask them like in a nice way. Okay, was there something that you clicked on, maybe accidental or whatever? And they always say no, no, no. And then when we show them, like, oh, you didn't click on this? Oh, well, besides that one, yeah, we did do that.
Did you put in your password? No. But yeah, I put in my password.
Because sometimes, it's critical to really address something in a very, timely manner. And, time is of the essence. And it's like, well, don't make it more difficult than it needs to be. Sometimes they'll call us just bitching, like, yeah, I didn't click on anything. And, they start getting all angry or whatever. And then the second, or you tell them, well, did you reboot your computer? Yes, I rebooted it. Okay, because the computer says here it hasn't rebooted in like 13 days.
That's a classic one.
It's stuff like that. It just it drives you crazy. You're like, this could have easily been avoided such a long time ago.
All right, so I've got a story. I'm going to have to bring this up here. So you've got the shame. We have to, and I'm not sure, Mario, if your points illustrated that you might have undone some of it, because you just said behind the scenes we're shaming them.
I don't. Mario does. Come to B4
I
Networks.
do.
We'll help you. No shame, no blame.
Shit, I do. I
Listen,
do.
I don't think there's any industry where behind the scenes there isn't some, shall we say, banter that goes on. I used to always have to point out to my technicians, like, listen, if they knew everything about IT, we wouldn't have a job. So it is true. But what we need to do, and I firmly believe this, is we have to find a way to reward. Like, way before we're talking about, did you click on a link? Did you do something bad? We have to be very, very proactive. We have to be on offense, not on defense, where we're training, but we're doing it in a way that people actually want to participate. So with that, I'm going to give you two examples. Number one, if we go back years and years, I put a platform in place that does have a score, a security score for each employee. And internally, I just saw my technicians start bragging about their score, and they loved it if they could get their score higher than mine. They always wanted to compare it to Justin, to the boss. We're smarter than the boss, which I absolutely loved. Now, that we actually went away from that platform for a while, tried some others, and recently came back to it. And so I introduced it again to my team. And you guys got to meet Leanna last week, right? So a little bit of background about Leanna. I'm gonna use her name. I'm gonna call her out because I love this story so much. She is not a technical person. Like, her background is not in technology. Her previous job had nothing to do with technology other than using a computer in an office environment. So she comes in and she's helping me with marketing and some other administrative tasks. And at one point I said something to her about, I send you emails. You don't even look at them. You don't open my emails. Like, you got to read my emails. Then we put this stuff in place, right? Phishing simulation and all this. And she goes in and she sees that her score is down. And I've never seen somebody so hell-bent on getting a score back up. She's digging in and she finds out, she clicked on an email, and she's like, it's your fault because you shamed me in not reading my emails. And I started just clicking on everything. And now, then she went to, she spent, I think, 2 full days. Now, this is not a success story on productivity within the company, but I tell you what, 2 days of doing all the micro trainings, the full training, going back in and looking all of the emails. And she now knows more about cybersecurity than I do. I swear to God, I could ask her anything. She knows all the terms. And I even quizzed her. I'm like, all right, let's see what you really know. And I started throwing some things at her. And she's just like, bam, 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 bam. I swear to God, she could get on here and do this podcast better than me at this point because of that stupid score. And it's not because she caused a breach, but it is because she failed a phishing simulation test that dropped her score down, and she will not lose. You talk about a competitive spirit. This girl's got a competitive spirit. This is what I wish I could create in every organization. This mindset, this atmosphere where it's not a shame-based. It's a, I don't know,
gamifying,
handing out trophies, like your score. And it's not even like I have to say it. She's running around showing her score to everybody.
Yeah.
Right. So if we could do nothing else, like, this is always a question, if we could do one thing to get the best bang for the buck, it would be this, in my opinion. It would be solid cybersecurity awareness training programs. And that's a complex. We're talking about what's involved in that, and it can be complicated. Just make sure it's there. But on top of that, you have to have the atmosphere that supports that. If you just throw training out, I said on a podcast a while back, right? I was like, if you just send a link and say, take the training, that's spam. That's not cybersecurity awareness training. That's sending out an email and trying to get people to click on it. It's spam. It's counterproductive. We have to get this culture piece in place.
Yeah, I like the gamifying idea. So the score really helps with that, because then you're right. Like, my team, they're notorious about trying to beat each other. I'm thinking of even implementing, and we've done this in the past for clients, where a little bit of competition. The person with the highest score, or everybody who's taken the training, gets entered in for, a draw, or everybody who's got a score above this and has taken a training gets entered into a draw for, some sort of gift certificate or some sort of prize. And all of a sudden people are like fighting each other to take the training. So
actually, we should probably try to do something with our clients and try to get them, like, to do this, because, in the whole point of, phishing training and stuff like that is kind of learning from your mistakes. And, Steve, that works with me, a couple months ago, he actually, maybe a year now, he had something that came in, it was a training or a phishing test, and it came in from Capital One. And he saw it, and it's like, oh, your account is overdue. So he forwarded it to his wife, and his wife is sitting there trying to log into it, clicking on the link, whatever. And meanwhile, my phone is going off, and me and him are on our way to a meeting. And my phone goes off, and I'm looking at him like, hey, did you just fail a phishing training? Like, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, no, I didn't click on anything. And then later we found out it was his wife. And from then on, he stopped forwarding stuff to his wife. He stopped clicking on stuff. He's been, pretty good, and he learned from his mistakes. But it's good that he learned from from a controlled environment, not a hacker.
Yeah, the irony there is that his wife received the email from a trusted source, him.
Yeah.
And so she's
Right.
probably not even no red flags are up, because she's like, well, my husband sent me this, so it must be legit. And he's sitting there furiously trying to log in. Whoops.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and move to wrap this up. Any final thoughts? Or was there anything that we missed? We're gonna do key takeaways here in a second, but is there anything that we missed as far as we'll call this the human element of cybersecurity? We are the weakest link, like absolutely truth. What else did we miss that we need
Maybe
to
just
talk about?
making it simple, fast, nothing long and complex. If you tell somebody to take a 1 hour long training session on cybersecurity, they're probably going to want to, lose their mind and jump over a bridge. But if you do, 5 minute here and there, 5 minutes a week, I think that's a lot easier to handle. Or maybe just during a huddle, right? Just like very quick and simple things. Like if you do a company huddle in the morning, just talking about it for like 1 minute will have a bigger impact than a 1 hour training session. Just constantly reinforcing things on a weekly basis keeps it top of mind, keeps it awareness on an ongoing basis versus like a once a year training. So maybe that would be my biggest
attention span. Like
Yeah.
the world that we live in, the attention span of people, you can't have them for more than 5 minutes. That's why like TikTok and all this reels and stuff like that is so popular now, because people like to just click on and then you keep going and keep going and keep going. But when you try to have them to sit there for a half hour or 30 minutes, they're not going to remember any of it past maybe the opening, scene.
Yeah.
That's it,
Yeah. And I've already said it, but I just think rewarding good behavior is really where all of this needs to start. However you choose to do it, have the plan in place, have the program, and get with your IT consultant. Go Google it. It doesn't matter. Put a security awareness training plan in place, and then build that culture. Reward people for taking the training, for having a score, for saying, "Hey, boss, look what I saw on the news yesterday. Does this impact us?" And Brian, you mentioned on a daily huddle. I've said before, if you have a weekly meeting, make it an agenda item on your meeting, and just find a way. Everybody has to do this their own way because it's your culture, but you have to find a way to get everybody involved. There's just no other answer to it, in my opinion.
Now, this doesn't say that that's the only thing you guys need to do. Like it's 1 out of every 5 people will still click a link. It's the stat that's been there for years. They're still going to click on it, and you still need to have stuff. It's all about layers.
Yeah.
Protection in case they do click on it. And,
this is just one of the layers.
Right.
That's the first layer. Like when we go over our security stack, the first layer of defense, the one that that can help you avoid the most, problems, is education, training for your employees.
And I'll be honest, I guess I kind of think of this as the icing on top of the cake, right? You have to have that foundation in place or none of it matters. I don't usually start with the client and say, here's the most important thing you need to do. Let's do this first. Although I have done that, depending on the scenario, sometimes it is. But generally speaking, we're going to go in first. We're going to protect the endpoints. We're going to check the firewall. We're going to, put a good solid antivirus in place. But then if you stop there, there's almost no point in having done the basics, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is just where we have to really put our biggest effort moving forward, ongoing. All right, guys. I think we've kind of nailed it. If you just had, I like to just say, if somebody listened, one of your clients, a prospect, if they were to listen to this and only this of today's episode, what would you want them to know? And I'll let you guys decide who goes first.
Mario.
Oh.
Okay.
We will shame you if you don't do it. No, it's like I said, it's the first layer of your defense. Make sure that you provide your employees with the proper tools to succeed. Educate them so that they can be safe and keep you safe.
Perfect. Bryan?
My short version of what is the most important things to pull out of today's episode is similar. People matter more than firewalls. Training is important, making sure people are aware of what's out there. We can't protect against what we don't know. And just making sure that we make it a culture of learning where we're not shaming and we're not blaming if people do something wrong, with the caveat that if they're repeatedly doing it and not taking the training, then they're a liability, and that's a different story altogether. But if they're taking the training and they made a mistake, no shame, no blame. That way they're not using that as a reason to not come forward next time. Use mistakes as teaching opportunities so you can up your game. I'm a very big believer in getting 1% better every day and becoming your own greatest of all time. So that would be my shortened summary of today.
I missed that, Bryan. I miss it. The 1% better.
1%, my friend. 1%.
I mean, really, if it's going to get better, doesn't it eventually have to become 2% better every day?
No, because 1% compounds against tomorrow's and the one after, and by the end of the year, it's 238 times or something. I don't know. I'm bad at math.
Damn, how many days do you guys have up there in Canada?
I'm rolling my eyes so hard. You didn't even catch my stupid joke, Bryan. Like 1% better. If you're going to improve 1% better, you have to do it by 2% better. And never mind. I'm going to go back and edit this part out.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
All right, guys. My key takeaway, the one thing I want people to understand about security awareness training, if we're going to just already assume we know it's important, then what I'm going to say is that the reason it gets missed is because of overwhelm. And the story that I told earlier about Leanna, where I watched her set aside, and she's very meticulous about getting her work done every day. And then I watched her for 2 days do nothing but cybersecurity awareness training to get her score up, to the point where I never said anything, but I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, yeah, but did you get your other work done? And I never said that because I swear to God, if an employee is going to sit for 2 days and deep dive on this for a score, I don't care what it is. The reality is she's not going to get hacked. She's not going to be the weakest link in my company right now because she can answer this shit better than me, almost. I will say almost. But she does like to win, so I'm going to give her that one. That is the culture we need. That is what we need to have within our companies. That
100%.
type of almost OCD around cybersecurity, because otherwise we will never win this war. With that, guys, let's go ahead and wrap for this week. Unhacked.live. Go to our website and you can get all the show notes. You can get the complete transcripts, the complete recordings. You can follow us. Well, social media links. We have all these published on YouTube. We put clips out on Facebook, out on LinkedIn, all over the place. So, and actually, I haven't done it yet, but spoiler alert, I'm going to start building out a resources section on the website where we can have downloadables, checklists, frameworks, just actionable, useful resources that you can use to just get started, right? Start that journey. Yes, Bryan, get better every single day, and we'll even give you the roadmap for how to do that. So
Beautiful.
Go to unhacked.live and also schedule a free assessment with any of us. We've all got that offer on the table. Guys, thank you for being here. Mario, Bryan, Thanks for being here. Say goodbye, and then we're going to sign off.
Bye, guys.
All
Take
right.
care.
See you next week.